Panic attacks suck. Hello my anxious little babies, my anxious little chickens. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tips that I have gathered amongst my many years of having generalized anxiety disorder. I'm going to be sharing with you some tips that I have for stopping an anxiety attack or a panic attack, which is from panic disorder, before they even start. I will mention that because we're talking about anxiety and things like that, that can be quite triggering. Like even talking about it, I can feel my heart racing a little bit, but I know that I have the tools to be able to bring myself back down. So if that's going to be triggering for you, I'm going to suggest that you move along from this video or come back to it at a time where you're feeling a little bit safer and a bit more differentiated so that you can discuss it. Now, I started having panic attacks within my last couple of years of high school, and they are horrific. I'm assuming you've clicked on this video because this is something that you're going through, and I'm really sorry. It's really unpleasant. I think we should all start by taking a few deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouth. And I'm going to share with you a few tips that have helped me mitigate the panic attacks that I've had in my life. Like, I actually don't remember the last time I had a proper panic attack. I really wanted to share this with you guys. I've collected all of this information from psychologists, psychiatrists, and hypnotherapists, if you can believe it. And I think there's a couple from TikTok in here too. So the first thing that we need to do in order to be able to prevent our anxiety from escalating to that point of no return is that we have to be able to be aware of our bodies, and we have to be able to pick up on the cues that our body is giving us or could trigger us into having a panic attack. There are some common feelings that I've seen online when looking at specific things. So hunger or drinking or being thirsty, any of those kind of feelings or sensations in our body can lead us to have a panic attack. It can also be completely random. You might notice signs like your heart rate elevating, becoming short of breath, your brain going foggy. Those are things that you need to start to pick up on, or whatever the starting signs or starting symptoms look like for you, we need to be aware of them so that we can act quickly. The first technique that I use for de-escalating my anxiety is to just remember that you have a backside of your body. When you feel your brain going down that little pathway and you feel those starting sensations arise, I want you to remember that you've got a back. You've got shoulder blades. I want you to think about your bum. I want you to think about your hamstrings, your calves, your heels. Think about the back of your neck, the back of your head. Something about remembering that there's another part of your body that really helps. Something about it is very grounding. And you get to sing
your neck, your back, your anxiety attack.
You get to sing that as you're stressing out. So that's the first technique or tip that I have that helps me reduce that sensation of fear and reduce that sensation of anxiety. The second technique that I have is to write with your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed like I am, I want you to pick up a pen and I want you to try and write out a sentence with your left hand. The concentration of trying to get your, I want to say wonky, but I don't want to be mean to myself, but there's not a chance in hell that I could write something nicely with my left hand. Something about focusing on trying to do that really provides a distraction. It gives your mind something else to think about, and it's really kind of all-encompassing in terms of your concentration. It's really difficult trying to do that and then think about all the other sensations in your body that are causing you to feel panicked and alarmed. If you're ambidextrous, you lucky duck, then you could try writing something with your toes. If you don't want to write something with your toes because that's a ridiculous statement, I don't blame you. What you could do is you could drop something on the ground and try and pick it up with your toes. If you're not a foot person, I have some friends who can't even think about feet without being overwhelmed. And yeah, you know what? This tip isn't for you. But you're gonna try and pick something up with your toes. I'm not gonna show you a video of me doing that because I don't think my feet are at that level of, you know? But the same kind of principle applies. It's all encompassing trying to do something that you're not good at, that you feel like you should be able to do. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is the sensory or sensation where's Wally. I want you to pick out 5 things that you can see. So for me right now, it's the fireplace. It's this fiddle leaf tree that has not changed in the last 2 years. It's the PowerPoint. It's the floorboards. It's the carpet. 5 things that you can see. Then you move on to 4 things that you can feel. I can feel the ground underneath my foot. I can feel this dress on my body. I can feel the beanbag underneath me. I can feel my right hip in pain. 3 things that you can hear. I can hear water dripping from a tap in the bathroom. I need to go look at that. I can hear the traffic from outside, or I can hear my bracelets rustling every time I move my hands. Then we move on to 2 things you can smell. I'm kind of absent of smells right now, but there are some flowers here. I think I'm getting hints of flowers, and I can smell my perfume or my BO, whatever works. And then one thing you can taste. I'm still working on my coffee from this morning, and that's what I can taste. Having that exploration and being able to take the time to look at all of these different things and actively search for things in the world around you are quite helpful. But I will admit that I often forget to do this one, because sometimes when you're in that space of beginning to feel anxiety, things can feel really overwhelming. Callum has in the past helped me with this one. He's like, okay, what are 5 things that we can see right now? What are 4 things that we can feel? 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, 1 thing we can taste. And having an outside influence is really helpful for kind of guiding you through that little meditation or that little visualization, that little picking exercise. But that does require a conversation with somebody that you're close to, or letting your friends know what you're going through. And that's really scary too. But I do think that that is kind of a tip that goes along with all of these other tips, is to try and talk to somebody about how you're feeling. Or let other people know things that might be triggering to you, or let them know signs to pick up on. So for me, when I'm feeling really anxious, I kind of withdraw and go into myself. I think kind of as a way of just protecting myself and protecting, I don't know, it just, anxiety makes me feel really, really small, or makes me feel, it just makes me feel really, really small. So if Callum was with me and he notices that, then that might be a good time to reach out or start asking some of those questions, like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But that involves a conversation, and that involves time and me making Callum aware of these sensations and the triggers and what's coming up for me. But I do think that's a pretty good or pretty helpful point to make. And that brings me on to tip number 4, which actually came from Callum. He got this from a sports psychologist, and I love it, but I kind of find it hard sometimes. And it is to focus on the exhalation of your breath. Callum uses this for rugby. So when he's trying to hype himself up, you focus on the inhale. I'm still breathing out, but I'm really focused on the inhalation and filling my brain full of oxygen. But when you're in a panic attack, or when you're starting to feel anxious, your breath might be getting short, but what I want you to try and do is to focus on the exhale of your breath. You're still breathing in, but I want you to pay active attention and really focus on the exhalation. This one, again, comes with the caveat that you will have to be aware of the sensations in your body. I know some of these techniques that I've mentioned are kind of focused on distracting yourself from the feelings that you're feeling, but this one really involves you sitting in the discomfort, the horrific discomfort that comes with a panic attack, or it comes with intense feelings of anxiety, and it involves you being like, it's okay that I'm feeling what I'm feeling. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just a feeling, and now I'm going to focus on the exhale of my breath. And that's really tricky to do, but I do think it helps. And that does bring me onto the 5th tip, which is, I think, the most uncomfortable, and that is why I've left it for last. And that is to not distract yourself, but just feel it. Now, you might be hearing this and wanting to throw something at the screen or turn away and go away from this video, and I don't blame you at all. Panic attacks make you feel like you're having a heart attack. They make you feel like you're dying. It is such a dissociative space where you're removed from reality. The worst possible thing that you could think of happening is happening to you right now. That is how it feels. It feels like the world is collapsing. And now I'm telling you to just sit with that and feel it. I'm actually mad at myself for suggesting this. So you're not alone, because it does feel like you're dying, but you're not dying. You're not having a heart attack, and the world is not ending. You're having a panic attack. Doesn't feel like it at the time, but you are safe, and it is going to pass. The feeling of a panic attack isn't going to last. So I want you to keep breathing. We're trying to slow down our breathing. We're focusing on the exhale, and you're going to repeat to yourself that you're not dying and that the feeling is going to pass, and you will be okay. Just keep breathing. And that brings me to the last little bonus section of tips that I've kind of mentioned throughout this video. The first thing is to speak to a friend, or to speak to your partner or a parent or somebody that you're close to. And maybe you could come up with a hand signal or something that'll help communicate to the other person when you can't really talk yourself. Because I know for me, like I said, I get really, really small and isolated, and I feel like my body is just kind of shutting off, and that's the first sign that I notice. So when I can't can't really expand myself or can't really communicate effectively, if I squeeze Callum's leg 2 times, then he will know, okay, they're feeling anxious. This is what we've got to do to help them. Trying to come up with solutions and putting things preemptively in place might be really helpful. Another little bonus tip is that there is a song that's specifically designed for people with anxiety, and you can listen to that. Maybe put in some earphones if you're able to, and try and focus on your breathing and just listen to the song as you process through this wave of emotion. I personally haven't found much luck with the song, but I'm gonna put it here so that if you do want to try this out, because by all means what works for me might not be what works for you. I'm purely just sharing some things that have helped me in the 6-7 years that I have suffered with anxiety. I also mentioned in another one of my videos that I've been reading How to Do the Work by the Holistic Psychologist. And in that book, they have a visualization exercise that can be used to help regulate your nervous system. So hopefully you're moving away from that fight or flight or fawn or freeze surrender. You're moving away from that survival mode and trying to calm yourself down. I've been doing this for the last week or so, and I don't want to jump the gun, but I do think it's been really helpful. So I thought that we could maybe do that together right now. So the first thing is that you're going to put your hands on your heart. You're going to close your eyes. You're going to take deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I want you to keep breathing as you're listening to my voice. I want you to imagine a bright white light shining outwards from your heart. Taking a deep breath in, keep taking those deep breaths out. Nothing forceful, just whatever breathing comes naturally. After your next exhale, you're going to hold your breath for a couple of seconds and you're going to repeat to yourself out loud or in your head, I am safe and I am at peace. After you've repeated that, you're going to take your next inhale, next exhale, holding it there for a couple of seconds, repeating to yourself, I am safe and I am at peace. All the while, you're imagining this beautiful bright light shining out from the heart. And you repeat that a few times. I think the psychologist said that she does it for about 5 minutes, but she's really built up to that point. And with this one, it's really important that we do this when we are feeling safe. We don't want to use this technique when we're in that heightened state of emotion, because we want it to feel like a safe and comfortable practice as we're trying to move our body away from that fight or flight zone, away from that survival zone. And maybe with enough practice of this, the holistic psychologist recommends about 3 times a day. If you're able to do a few breaths with this visualization technique, then our bodies will begin to trust us and they might start to respond to situations in a more gentle way. They won't necessarily escalate straight away to that survival mode. It's been a pretty good week for me. I don't know whether that's because of the breathing exercises, but that's something that I'm going to try and implement to kind of work on the prevention of those anxious feelings before they arise. And that is it for me today, guys. Like I said earlier, this is just a list of things that have helped me throughout the last few years, and if you have something different, it would be amazing if you could leave those suggestions down below, just so that we could get a collection of what everybody thinks helps them, because what might work for you might work for somebody else. And if you're able to share that, that would be absolutely wonderful. I hope that something in this video helps you or resonates with you. You deserve to live a life with a regulated nervous system that makes you feel safe, because panic attacks suck. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have an amazing week ahead. I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye. Bye, chickies.